A lot of people ask me, how do they know if they're on track to be ready for retirement?
The way I know I'm ready for retirement is that I've watched so many finance videos and I've smashed the like button so many times my finger can penetrate steel. And here's what I mean. I take a 50-cent piece, flick it in the air, boom, just like that, and the finger goes right through like butter. That's how I know I'm ready for retirement. Okay, that's not the real way to know. That's a magic trick, or my finger's freakishly strong. Either way, that's worth smashing the like button for. But financial experts do say that if you want your lifestyle to stay the same without going down in quality when you stop working, you're supposed to save 1x your yearly income by age 30, 3 times the annual income by age 40, and by age 60, 8 to 10 times. But what's crazy is that if you ask the average American what they think about that, they'll probably tell you they're not even close to that.
Who could save that much? I'm sorry.
I think those numbers are very abstract.
Okay.
Here's the thing though, that video that Vox made asking people about their retirement and how they were worried aren't exactly average income Americans. I might be out of touch about incomes, but you tell me. This lady right here was a nurse who made $120,000 a year. This lady is a VP of communication making $140,000 a year. And this man who's a playwright is making $135,000 a year. Are those normal incomes now? People making $50K a year must be like, yeah, let's not talk about that right now. How far off from retirement are they? According to Larry Fink of BlackRock, who's the leading global asset manager, says there's a retirement crisis facing the US and people are increasingly anxious about their finances. And in their yearly letter to shareholders, they said that one of the leading problems of the 21st century, besides an overpopulation of influencers, will be retirement. And as someone who has parents that are close to retirement, I want to know, how long do I have to keep making these YouTube videos for? So let me explain exactly what's going on as simple as possible. I'll show you the problem, where it went wrong and who broke the system, and what's being done to fix it. So let's get into it. Hi, my name is Andrei Jikh. Hope you're doing well. Come for the finance and stay for the retirement crisis. So let's start with the problem. Is this something America's always faced, or is it kind of a new problem? I started looking at retirement averages, which was a big mistake. Because on average, people under 35 have $50K saved and people at retirement have over $600,000. So when it comes to finances, averages just never really make sense. Because if Jeff Bezos walked in the room right now, the average laugh would sound like this.
Hell yes.
And on average, I don't think my laugh usually sounds like that, unless it's on Sundays or I'm buying Bitcoin. Either way, if we really want to get to know the real numbers, we have to go directly to the source code of the matrix. And that's the median of the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances dating all the way back to 1989, which is also the year I was born. I used all this data to create a line graph across all the different ages to show the progress. And looking at this, the median savings of people close to retirement who are 55 to 64 is $185,000. So the good news is it looks like people are saving more today than they were 35 years ago. But even though this is showing a positive picture, the reality is still not good. Because let's assume a median income of $60,000 a year, let's say. That means most 55 to 64-year-olds should have saved between $480,000 to $600,000. But the median there is $185,000, which means they're 30 to 40% of the way there, and that is a huge problem.
At the median, people have saved approximately $45,000. That means half the population has saved less than $45,000. And that also means that there's quite a few people that haven't saved anything.
Here's where it gets worse though, because as technology and medicine improves and allows people to live longer lives, the system is doing very little to help people afford those later years in life. And that's kind of important because we're about to have a lot more people leaving the workforce. In about 10 years' time, Mexico, UK, and Brazil will have more people leaving the workforce instead of enter it. So the world is definitely getting older, but at a different pace. Some countries have a higher aging population than others. Japan, for example, is considered to be the oldest country in the world. And that's because last year, in 2023, was the first year ever that 80-year-olds represented 10% of the population. Now, I was recently in Japan and I can confirm there is a lot of old people, especially cab drivers, But to prove the point that it's not just Japan's aging population, this is happening all around the world. Data from BlackRock shows that in 2019, we had only 1 in 11 people that are over the age of 65. But by 2050, there will be as many as 1 in 6. So this is kind of an important one for us to figure out if we want to have a senior population that enjoys living out the rest of their lives while the robots take our jobs. So that's the problem, but was it always like this? And if it wasn't, who broke the system? Personally, I don't think it's very productive to blame any specific generation, but for the sake of making a complete video. According to BlackRock again, we did have a better system in place before this one, and it was kind of the baby boomer generation that created this newer one, which prioritizes corporate profits over retirement. And if you think about it, it makes so much sense how a younger person without the foresight of remembering that someday they'll get old too would make these decisions. And the results were really good for them at the time because companies paid employees less, companies made more, stock market went up, and they became rich. But now, those same people that created this new system that got rid of the old one are also now getting old, and they could have benefited from the pension plans that they got rid of. Fate, it seems,
Is not without a sense of irony.
Who cares about the aging population? I'm young right now. Wait.
The reason why a coal miner and a lawyer could expect to retire is because of the design of our pension system, which we don't have anymore. Your employer would put money aside for your retirement, and it was professionally invested, and at the end of your working life, that money would be translated into a lifetime benefit.
So here's what happened. Pension plans started to phase out because companies realized, hey, wait a minute, paying into the stuff's kind of expensive. Plus, Sally Mae didn't come back to work. Rumor has it she left her husband for a higher paying job. The workforce, as it's called, became more mobile. It became a mobile phone. It's now Tinder. So there was just less of an incentive to pay into these expensive programs if people weren't gonna stay with the same job their entire life, so they started to phase out. That's also why in the 1980s, for example, roughly half of the people working in that time had a pension plan. But fast forward to 2022, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that only 15% of the workforce has one. So yeah, no more pension plans for most people. Now at the same time that was happening, the Revenue Act of 1978 had a little provision in it that allowed people to defer taxes on a part of their income if they invested directly into a retirement account. Except there was a problem. This plan was never meant to replace the pension plan, but it did anyway. And that was the birth of the modern 401k that we have today.
A 401k plan is sponsored by an employer, so it's tied to your job. Your employer can make contributions or you can make contributions, and what you receive at retirement is what you've saved into that individualized account.
I'm talking to you in 2024, half of the people are covered by a retirement plan.
But the vast majority, if they have a retirement plan, are covered by a 401k.
The original 401k plan was meant for people with higher incomes. That's why the people with lower incomes never invested their money into it, which is part of the reason why we have the situation we have today. And it's also the reason why so many people rely on Social Security for income, which was also never supposed to be the main strategy of retirement. It was only supposed to be a part of it, but never the main source of income. Unfortunately today, Social Security pays for 90% of incomes in about 1 in 5 people that retire. And as the population gets older and people live longer, the theory is that Social Security won't be around for us when we get old because it was never meant to be the main source of support for so many people living that much longer. And that's why by 2034, Social Security won't be able to pay out its full benefits. So that's the real problem. And no, it wasn't always like this. So now the question is, what are we gonna do to fix it? But let's look at the rest of the world, because the US is a very different place when it comes to retirement. Some countries around the world have this plan where they automatically sign people up to retirement. Whether that's a public plan or a private plan, it happens whether they like it to or not. The US, on the other hand, has this weird dichotomy where it's one of the richest countries in the world, but when people get old, the system's like, well, you're on your own now.
You did this to yourself.
In fact, if you look at the countries with the best retirement plans, the US doesn't even rank in the top 10. It's number 18. We're behind the UK. The UK? Okay, I love the UK. I was also recently there, beautiful place, but also I feel like the food is not helping with the health crisis. Maybe that's just me, but I wasn't a fan. But I did have the best Indian food there that I've ever had, but I feel like English people are like, hey, you know how food is supposed to be delicious? Yeah, let's make it not like that. Yeah, all right, bruv, cheerio. But a big part of the reason why why the US does this to itself is because the US financial system is so complex in how it was designed that most people don't even bother trying to figure it out.
There are literally thousands of investment choices within an individual retirement account if you open it at a mainstream financial institution.
That's why the money is sitting in a savings account. I don't know what percentage is supposed to be in the stock market or a Roth.
I made some mistakes and, stumbled along the way.
I know that I remember doing this for my parents years ago when I signed them up to a 401k, and I was so overwhelmed by all the choices that I signed them up for a target date fund with the lowest expense ratio because it was the easiest thing for me to understand. But what's interesting is that the Netherlands, Denmark, Israel, the UK, and Australia make the investment choices for their citizens, and those countries, with the exception of the UK, are also the highest rated for retirement. But Americans, and this is so true, we are so independent and so in control of our lives that we're like, so you're telling me that if you sign me up automatically, you remove all the complexity for me, I have to do nothing except enjoy a good retirement and all I have to do is just give up my choice? Get out of here with that. I'll f it up myself. We're just so independent that don't you dare remove our choices. I'll pick how I fail, thank you very much. But if we're gonna be forced to pay into anything, like car insurance of all things, then at the very least, retirement should probably be at the top of that priority. But that brings me to the list of possible ways to fix this. One of the things that the US started doing just this year is to federally require all companies to automatically enroll all of their employees into a 401k plan. And that would have really helped my parents out in 1998. They would have had a lot more money today because they didn't get their 401ks until like 2017 or something. It was really late. Another thing we can do is not allow people to make life-changing decisions with their retirement money.
Having to dip into it all the time because I was paying 2 mortgages was very difficult because I feel like it wiped me out.
Between the ages of 22 and 26, wasn't thinking about what was I gonna need at 68 when I was just trying to pay my rent. Oftentimes when I would leave one job, the little bit of money that I had in a 401k, that can be used to pay off a credit card debt.
Also, for the people that are outside the system who don't have access to 401ks, we should be doing a lot more to get people involved because there's a lot of people missing out. Because as of right now, there's 57 million people that are among the independent contractors, farmers, restaurant workers, and self-employed who don't have access to any of these plans at all. And for the people that are enrolled into these programs, there needs to be a lot more education because without that education, there's this one weird thing that happens. People don't know how to spend their money. BlackRock found that 20 years into people's retirement, people 75 to 95 years old still had 80% of their 401k money saved, which is more than enough for whatever's left of their lives. And yet, those are the same people that reported feeling stressed out and uncertain about their financial future. So not only are people confused on their 401ks and how to invest in them, but they're just as equally confused on how to spend it once they reach retirement age. Now, all of this to show you that this system is clearly flawed in the way that it was designed. And with just a couple changes, we could make it so much better. Offer more education, less choices, but higher quality products, and make everyone a part of it. The great truth about all of this is that at its core, it's really simple, but it was designed to be complex so that you pay someone else to figure it out for you. Because everything's for profit, even your retirement. The good news is you don't actually have to spend any money buying special investing courses or signing up to sponsors from YouTube videos. Instead, here is the financial order of operations from most important to least important according to most experts. The first most important thing to do is to start investing as early as you can. The more time you have, the more money you'll make over time. The second thing is to open up a 401k. Ask HR to figure out how much is the contribution match from your employer. Max that out, but nothing more. Once you're done with that, focus on your high interest rate debt if you have any, because that will be the second highest rate of return after free money, which is 100%. After you paid off your high interest rate debt, open up a Roth IRA, which the max for the year 2024 is $7,000. Once you've done that, in addition to or even before a Roth IRA, some experts recommend you open an HSA, which is a triple tax advantaged account where money goes in tax-free, it grows tax-free, is withdrawn tax-free. So that's triple tax advantaged. It has some limitations, but the 2024 limit is $4,150. Once you've done that, if you're a baller and you still have money left over, go back to the 401k and max that out. That is the financial order of operations from most important to least important. But really, you don't have to do any of that unless you're an ultra money nerd. This one step is really all you need according to most experts. And all you have to do is just set the 401k contribution slider to 15% of your yearly income. And assuming that you're investing into the stock market, which will give you 8% per year, factoring inflation, you'll be able to retire in 28 years, regardless of your income. No matter how much money you make, this applies to everyone. That's because after 28 years of doing this, it will grow into enough money so that you can withdraw at 4% per year. In other words, you don't sell everything at once and then go to the beach. You sell every year 4%, which is the same as the active income you get from your job. And the idea is that the rest of it will grow faster than you can spend it. And it really is that easy. All it takes is a little bit of education, but what it really takes is a lot more courage. Like, I remember when I first started investing, I was terrified of it because I didn't realize that the US stock market was not just some casino, it was just an index that tracked the growth of the US. And once I realized that, I put a lot more money in. So if you believe that the world will be a bigger place that has more people, more productivity, more companies, more money, 30 years from now than we do today, that's an ETF like VT. That's all it tracks. Once you realize that, the most important thing is to just start. You can also read a book like Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins, and you'll never need to watch a finance YouTube video again. Unless, of course, you're crazy and you like magic tricks and corny jokes. But as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to grab your free stocks. Links are down below, and then go track them automatically with the spreadsheet link down below on my Patreon. Love you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'd love to see you back here on Monday and Friday, sometimes Wednesday. See you soon. Bye-bye.